All right, WODprep, we are going to get into our recovery flow for 19.3. So our upper body and our lower body is going to be pretty taxed this round. So we're gonna start off with a few upper body movements to get you loose, and then we will go ahead and complete it off with our lower body stuff. So today, all you need is a little bit of space. I have my yoga mat again. You can use a yoga mat or wherever. You can just find some space. Then a jump stretch band of the heaviest resistance. So we can just go ahead and put that jump stretch band aside for right now. So let's go ahead and get down to the ground. So you're gonna go, to start off, you're gonna go ahead into our child's pose position, just like so. We're gonna get into sitting our hips down and back. You can get the knees out a little bit or find whatever is more comfortable. And then we are going to open up overhead by getting these arms nice and straight and driving our hands into the ground. And then once we're here, get into this position and we're gonna go ahead and then walk our hands to one side, just press into the ground. So now I'm getting this left arm. If I go to my right, I'm really stretching the left arm. I should feel it run down into the lats a little bit. Then we walk out to the other side and pull as well. So go ahead, get into your position, start in your child's pose, and we're just going to go ahead and walk our hands for 6 reps. It'll be 3 each side, and you can follow along starting now. So let's go ahead and walk to our right. Arm nice and straight, pressing that left hand into the ground, straightening that elbow, feeling a stretch run into that armpit, into the lat, and let's go ahead and walk our hands over to the other side. Get into that position. So now I'm on my left and I feel the stretch on my right arm. So feel it up underneath my armpit in that lat area. And let's go ahead, walk back to the other side. Get into that position, press, and then come back out. Other side, on to rep 4. And back. Opening up overhead, driving the head through a little bit, getting a little bit further now. You can kind of pulse in and out. And then back over for one more rep. So drive in, open that up. Next, we are going to open up extension in these shoulders. So we're gonna do that with our extension slides. So you're gonna get into that kind of crab crawling position. And then what you're going to do, get your hands turned out to the side and walk them in just a little bit close to each other, maybe a hair inside of shoulder width. And then all you gotta do is drive your hips up like so to the ceiling and then drive forward, let your weight go forward. And once I do this, I feel a very nice stretch running into that shoulder, the anterior shoulder flexors, so the bicep, a little bit of the delt. And so to rep it out, all you're gonna do, drive forward, get that nice stretch, go to your tension, and then come back down to the ground. So if you're ready, get into position, hands turn out to the side, and we're gonna do 6 reps. So drive hips to the ceiling first, and then lean forward, get a stretch, come back down to the ground, back up, drive forward. If you're feeling a lot of pressure in the elbows, you can just go ahead and keep the elbows bent a little bit. Let's go back up, drive the hips to the ceiling, go forward, into that stretch, and then come back out. There's 3, we're gonna do 3 more. Up to the ceiling, drive forward, come back, 2 more, up, back, and last one. Up to the ceiling, drive forward, and then come back. All right, from there, we are going to do our side lying windmill. So to start, you are going to get into kind of this fetal position, knees stacked up on top of each other. I will take my bottom hand and put it on my top knee. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and make a windmill motion up and over my head, and then rotate the hands underneath. So you can see it from the front, I come back. So this is what your front position looks like. And now I'm going to show you the other side so you can see what I'm doing on the back side. So stack my knees, bottom hand on top of the knee. I drag my top hand over my head. I can bend that elbow. I start to look to the side that I'm stretching to. And then at about a 45 degrees, I have my palm, or the top of my hand on the ground, palm facing the ceiling. About at this position, when my arm is about at like the snatch position or 45, I'm gonna go ahead and start turning my hand over and then go into this internal rotation position and then just slide right back out to the top of the hand, back on the ground, sweep back around. So if you're ready, go ahead, get in position, and then I'm gonna go ahead and face the camera this way. And we're going to do 6 reps each side. So let's go ahead and begin now. Just drag that hand up, over, around, flip that palm down to the ground, bend the elbow, and bring that hand into the small of your lower back. Come back out, rotate the top of the hand back onto the floor, drag those fingertips, and come back to the starting position. That's 1. Let's go through, windmill, rotate under, 2. Get a nice breath at each rep. Let's go back for 3. Sweep underneath, come back out. We're just getting some nice full shoulder rotation. That's rep 4. Getting some good thoracic rotation as well. Rep 5. Last one. Bring it up, over, rotate underneath, and let's go ahead and switch sides. So get into that position. Bottom hand on top, and let's go ahead and begin for that first rep. Sweep and drag those fingertips on the ground, palm facing, and then go ahead, put that palm towards the ground. Pull underneath, hand into the small of the back. Make sure that elbow is bent at the end. Then we come back out. Get the elbow straight briefly, and then once we're in line with our ear, we go ahead and bend that elbow. So rep 1, let's go ahead for rep 2. Sweep underneath, come back out. Again, 3, and we got 3 more. Bring it back for rep 5. Sweep windmill overhead, pull underneath, bend that elbow into the small of the back. Come back out, 1 more rep. Sweep it around, underneath. And then let's go ahead and flip right back in to our child's pose with the walking hands. So get into that child's pose position. We're gonna move a little bit faster now. We're gonna do 1 more round of all 3 of those movements. So elbows straight, get into this position, and let's go ahead and walk our hands to one side, press, open up the lats, walk back out to the other side. 2, walk back to your right. 3, walk back to the other one. 4, walk to the other side of your mat. 5, press, bring it back, and 6. Next, let's go back to our extension slides, get into that crab, crawl, walk position, whatever you call it. Hands, fingers turn out to the side, and let's go ahead and start by driving those hips up to the ceiling and then sliding forward until we get that stretch. Come back, drive up to the ceiling, shift your weight forward, stretching those shoulders. 2, remember, bend the elbows if you feel a lot of pressure in those elbows. Drive up, forward for 3. We should be getting a little bit further now. Drive up, forward, opening up. 5. Back up to the ceiling. Drive forward and come back. Next, back to our windmill. 1 more set each arm. I'm gonna start in the front. Get those knees stacked up on top of each other. Bottom hand on top, and let's go ahead and windmill. Bring it around, rotate underneath, come back up. 1. Bring it out. 2. Make sure that hand is dragging on the ground each time. Knees are staying down. Keep those knees stacked. Hand on top. Don't let your knees come off the ground or off of each other. Go back for rep 4. Heading into 5. And 6. Go ahead, switch to the other side. Stack those knees, hand on top, and let's go ahead and begin. Bringing it through, hand is sweeping, elbow straight for a brief period. Flip that palm down to the ground. Bring that hand into the small of your back, bending that elbow. That's 1. 2. 3. 4. Sweep underneath. Remember to stay breathing in between each rep. Come back out. 5. And last one. 6. Bring it around. Underneath. And then come back out. Feel free to go ahead right now before we get into the next session to do a 3rd round. And if there's one spot that is tight for you, it really feels really lit up, go ahead. You can spend a little bit more time in that position. All right, so take that band. We're going to attach it to a rig. I also have a pad for my knees, so I lied. You need something else. But find a ab mat, a pillow, or whatever you can do to pad your knee. So go ahead, loop that jump stretch band around your rig or pole or a stairwell. Just be sure to don't rip your banister down. From once you have it attached, then we're going to go ahead and put that band right up underneath our glute, and we're gonna go down to one knee for a deep hip flexor stretch. So I'm gonna get this about level with my hip or where it's attached to my hip or a little bit higher. And then once we are here, so what I'm gonna start off with is just squeezing the glutes, and then I'm gonna drive forward, and I should feel a nice stretch on that hip flexor in the front, and then I'm just gonna come back out, get reset, squeeze the glute, tuck that tailbone, ribs are down, and then we don't wanna go into the stretch by overextending like so. Keep that good position throughout the whole movement. So we're gonna keep it dynamic for the 1 minute, and we're going to just drive forward, drive back, stretch the hip flexor on each side, starting right now. Drive through, so squeeze your glute, tuck that tailbone, ribs are down, drive through, hang out here for a second or 2, get a nice stretch in that hip flexor, and then come back. Squeeze the glute, get the core brace, drive through, go a little bit further. Again, come back, get into that position, drive through, opening up a little bit more. We have 20 seconds left. Be sure to stay breathing. Come back out. Drive back in. And 3, 2, 1. Let's switch. Go ahead, get that other leg, get it banded. Right up underneath the glute. Get into that position. And then remember, good mechanics, squeeze the glutes, ribs down, and begin. So, drive forward, hang out, find that stretch on that hip flexor, and then bring it back. Good position, glute tight, core down, ribs, abs engaged, and drive forward. Go into that stretch, and then let's come back out. Keeping it moving. Every time we go through the movement, we just kind of go to our level of tension. It doesn't have to be crazy amount of stretching or ripping feeling. Just going in to your tension, and then coming back out. Bringing it back, driving back through, breathing, and that finishes that movement. Let's go ahead. We are going to get into our banded hamstring stretch. So you can keep one leg in, just slide that band up so it is about hip height. For all my happy hippers out there, you've done these quite enough or quite a few times, so you should know what you're doing. I won't say enough because you can probably always be doing more. So let's go ahead. What we're gonna do, band up the leg on top of the thigh. From there, I'm gonna walk it out and get a good amount of tension. I'm slightly leaning forward. I'm doing my best Michael Jackson Thriller. So just a little bit of tension. We don't have to go too crazy far. Stagger stance, banded leg out in front. From there, I'm going to hinge my hips straight, and I'm gonna round my spine just a little bit. So a hinge down from the hips, and then once I kind of run into the tension, I can tuck the rest and round to get down on the ground. So my knees are bent. I want everyone to start in both knees bent. From here, our first move is just to start to lightly drive that knee into the tension and then come back out. So from here, I'll just be driving into my hamstring tension. If you go from this bent knee position and you can't fully lock out and you just feel a really good hamstring stretch, stop. That's where I want you to go. You don't have to lock the knee out if you don't have that range of motion, that terminal knee extension. And then as we get into the stretch, you can start to lean forward a little bit more and put a little bit more pressure on that hip. So if you are ready, let's go ahead and get into the position. In 1 minute on each leg starts right now. So hands down to the ground. If you can, if you need to stop the video and prop your hands up on a kettlebell to shorten the range of motion, go ahead and do that now. But let's go ahead, keep flossing that knee in and out. Go to your tension. If you feel tight, you can go ahead and just pause for a little bit in between each floss. Bend that knee, and then come back in. Another thing to pay attention to is make sure that the hip is staying level. I want your hip to stay up, and I want the bend to come from the knees. So don't do hips up and down. Drive into that tension. So if you're feeling a little bit more open now, go ahead and just lean a little bit more forward into the band, providing a little bit more tension on that hip. Then you'll feel how that kind of lights you up a little bit more. And you can just keep that leg lightly flossing in and out again. Good job. Let's go ahead and switch. Band up the top of that thigh. Walk out to your staggered stance. Let's go ahead, hinge at the hips. Bent, knees are bent, hips stay high, and 1 minute starts right now. So floss that knee, knee goes from bent into tension, feel tension into the hamstrings, up into the glutes, and then come back out. Stay breathing. Driving in to your tension, and then coming back out. Then as you loosen up a little bit, you can lean forward a little bit to add a little bit more pressure into that band. Flossing that knee in and out. Keeping it moving. And last little bit here. And that completes that banded hamstring stretch. Now let's go ahead and get into our banded glute stretch. So just slide this down. We're going to get it pretty low, few inches off the ground, and then you're gonna go ahead and lay your back on the ground. So once we're here, let's go ahead and band one of the legs again. So get it in up top of that thigh, crossing into that groin. Then we're just going to slide out just a little bit, and then we are going to cross that banded leg over top our other knee. So get into this position. You see I have, if my left leg is crossed over top, I'm bracing it with my right hand. And then, so we have a good amount of tension on this band. I'm in this position, and then all we have to do is just use that bottom leg to lift this knee up, and then we should feel a nice stretch into this glute, into that hip. And then, as we go later on, you can start to roll to the side a little bit, and you'll feel that stretch on the side of the hip as well. So let's go ahead, start off with that first piece, just lifting that knee up, and then we'll get into rolling to the side just a little bit. We're going to accumulate 1 minute, starting right now. So lift up, bring that knee into the chest. I have my right hand on my ankles. I have my left hand on my knee to add a little bit more support. Then I come back down. Bring it back up. Glutes are probably pretty toasty after all those lunges and step-ups. So we're just giving them a nice little bit of TLC stretching since we are on week 3 of blowing out our legs. So let's go ahead. You can put that bottom foot on the ground and just roll to the side and just go to where you feel that stretch in the glute. You'll see that my knee doesn't get all the way down to the ground. I just roll to the side that I feel a stretch on that top leg. Hunt around if you need to pull your foot down a little bit more on your thigh to feel the stretch, do so. But you should have tension on that band. All right, 1 more minute on the other side, and then you will be done your flow for 19.3. So get that leg banded, cross it over top, and let's go ahead and begin our 1 minute right now. Lift that leg up, bring those hands on that top leg for some extra support, and come back down. Pull up. Remember that there should be tension on the band throughout the whole movement, even when we come back down, like so. Pull back up. And back down. Pull back up. And now you can put that bottom foot on the ground, and we're going to roll out to the side until we feel that stretch in that back part of the hip, glute. Maybe running down the side of your thigh a little bit. You can come back out of that tension, roll back to your side. You should have tension on that band. And that concludes our banded glute stretch. So, great job recovering for 19.3. So, we'll see you next week for 19.4.